Africans with African pride, fighting to again our rights. One world shedding of blood for any nation to move forward. Africans with African pride, fighting to again our rights. It's so praise the Most High God every day with your whole heart desire. Lift the Maya, lift the Maya. Holy, 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 holy.
Hello, I'm Jesse White, Illinois Secretary of State.
This is Danielle Mitchell with Average Black Girl.
Hey, this is Don from Our Voice.
This is Jeff Badu from Badu Tax Services.
My name is Agbediman.
My name is Olivier Kamanzi.
This is Chateau.
My name is Eme Adibe.
And you're listening to Progressive Minds.
Progressive Minds.
Progressive Minds with your host, Alinko, on WGHC 98.3.
It's every Tuesday night from 7 to 9 p.m. on WGHC 98.3 FM.
This is Senna, host of Progressive Minds. You can also call me Alinko. Join me every Tuesday between 7 to 9 p.m. Central Time. We'll be coming your way with topical issues that pertain to our community, issues that relate to you and I. Join the #1 community building show in the entire world as we seek to uplift our community. If you're outside the range, just download the TuneIn app on Google Play Store and search for WGHC. If you're an Apple user, just go to your App Store and download WGHC app. You can also ring 563-999-3221 to listen to us live. Search for Progressive Minds on Facebook, like the page, and turn on your notification. You can also catch us on YouTube by searching for Progressive Minds. Progressive Minds, to whom much is given, much is required.
Thy rod and staff, they are with me. They surely comfort me.
Okay, people of Chicago, people of the world, it's another Tuesday here in Chicago. It's a beautiful day. It's been wonderful for the past 2 days now, and we are grateful to God for giving us another opportunity to come and serve you all. I hope you're all doing well. Today, we'll be talking about roles for a healthy relationship. I'm not the one to tell you that there are a lot of toxic relationships out there, be it marriage, intimate, platonic, whatever it is. It could be even sibling to sibling, but there is a lot of them out there. So this evening we are asking that you join in the conversation later on and share your idea, ask questions. The panel here are wonderful, great people who are professionals and also have experience in the subject matter. In a short while, we will be joined by two others who are on their way. Dr. Benton is on the way. Belinda Sintim is also almost here, caught up in traffic. And then Zippy Turkson will also be joining us. It's 4 minutes past 7 Central Time. And you're logged on to WGHC 98.3 FM, your voice, your music, your station. I'm your host, Alinko. We'll be taking the health, fitness, and sports updates from our man, Mike, and then we will continue that conversation. Please stay tuned. Mike, what's up? What's up with you today?
Well, everything's going well. Enjoy that weather out there while you can, because I hate to be the bearer of bad news. Tomorrow it's going to cool off a little bit, and we do have a chance of a severe thunderstorm and some rain. That'll start probably later in the afternoon, continue into the night. And keep in mind also that May has the highest incidence of severe weather and tornadoes, so make sure you have those apps on your phone that'll tell you from the National Weather Service when severe weather's in your area. It can save your life, and have a plan in case something like that were to happen. Well, checking into the health news on healthline.com, we have a new study that shows baking soda may help keep rheumatoid arthritis at bay. Dr. Paul O'Connor, Associate Professor and Director of the Physiology Department at Augusta University, did a study using baking soda, and after 2 weeks of a baking soda and water mix, the immune cells seemed to change jobs. Instead of using inflammatory processes to help the body, it switched into an anti-inflammatory process, which would help rheumatoid arthritis and lupus. So go to healthline.com and see if this new study will help you if you are a sufferer of rheumatoid arthritis. Looking at sports, the Cavaliers swept the Raptors. Now, 128-93 victory. Philadelphia defeated Boston 103-92. Tonight, we have Utah at Houston. New Orleans will play at Golden State. In baseball, hometown White Sox take on the Steelers. No, they don't. The Pittsburgh Pirates. The Marlins will be in town right down the street from here, taking on the Cubs. And Wednesday, we have MLS soccer action. The Montreal Impact will play the Chicago Fire. So looking forward to that for all you soccer fans out there.
Hey, thank you, Mike, for that wonderful report. I also want to take the opportunity to wish you a big happy birthday.
Oh, thanks. Just getting a little bit older, man. Thank you.
How was your party, Mike?
I didn't drink as much as I usually drink on my birthday, which is a good thing. But I take vacation just in case, because I know how my friends are when they buy you all those drinks, and you can't let them go to waste. So there's that.
When is your next flight, Mike?
Next flight will be on the 17th.
Okay. Next week we want to do a special Mother's Day, so please see if you can. Let's know if you will be available, so we can give a big shout out to our mothers out there. Okay.
Gotta love your mothers.
All right, man. Take care, Mike.
We'll see you next week.
All right, Mike. Thanks. All right. We will take a short musical break. Our guests are strolling in slowly. Apart from the two wonderful ones that are already here. If you're on Facebook, you can see them. And Maia and Richmond are already here. If you're not, please look up Progressive Minds, like the page. When you come on, please share it so we can all learn tonight. Stay tuned. We shall be right back.
I was lost inside the desert fortress circling round my head, but thanks to God now I made it out of there. I was just another sheep inside the belly of the beast, but thanks to God now I made it out of there. Guru Guru Meche Leshe Yaya Mefa Hallelujah. 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 Hallelujah. Sing lucky now. Can't you see the hand of heaven is upon me? It's a lottery now. It's 40 days and 40 nights. Seek and ye shall find. I say more muscle to your muscle, more butter to your bubble, more blessing to the talika. May God give you all the barika. More muscle to your muscle, more butter to your bubble, more blessing to the talika. May God give you all the barika. I was lost inside the desert, vultures circling round my head, but thanks to God now I made it out of there. I was just another sheep inside the belly of the beast, but thanks to God now I made it out of there. Guru Guru Meche Leshe Yaya Mefa Hallelujah. Guru Guru Meche Leshe Yaya Mefa Hallelujah. Guru Guru Meche Leshe Yaya Mefa Hallelujah. Guru Guru Meche Leshe Yaya Mefa Hallelujah.
It's exactly 10 minutes after the hour 7. It's the 8th of May 2018, and we are at WGHC 98.3 FM. On the 26th of this month, we're inviting the entire public to come to the area where WGHC is, which is the Uptown here in Chicago. There's going to be a street festival, and it's a campaign against gang violence in this community. And so you don't want to, please make sure you mark this date on the 26th of May from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. We shall be campaigning against gang violence and crime in the Uptown area. Right now we have in the seats Dr. Benton Cook III, who is right here. I'll let him introduce himself shortly. And then next to him is Maia, and then we have Richmond Cabral. Wonderful lady and gentlemen. Two ladies are more on their way. Again, you can reach us on the TuneIn app if you're an Android user. For iPhone users can always download our app in the App Store. You can call 563-999-3221 to listen to us live. We are also available on our website 24/7, wghcfm.org. Globally, we are available everywhere. Everybody's listening to us because we are the number one community building African radio station here in Chicago, and Progressive Minds is also the number one community. Show by show, we thrive to build our community. So feel free to join this conversation, which is very important in our daily lives. We're talking about roles for a healthy relationship. Dr. Cook, you are welcome to the show once again.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here once again.
Yes, I did not need to put any title there because your title is the husband to the Honorable Dorothy Brown. It's good enough. In addition to all the other titles you have, I felt like this one is the number one title. So
thank you, sir. But I was something else before.
Okay.
I was her husband.
Tell us that. Let's hear that one, Dr. Cook, in the few words.
No, it's a pleasure to be with you again, Aliko. This is such a wonderful format to talk about things that are affecting the African and the African American community. And the last time I was on, and we Facebooked it, and I got over 800 viewers from that Facebook because of the subject titles that was so germane to people who are seeking or healing or recovering from relationships.
Beautiful. Maia felt what you just said in the spirit of feeling. Tell us who Maia is. I know you are an e-commerce specialist, but I'm not sure who is Maia Bush.
Yes, thank you. This is also my second time being here, so I'm very grateful to be here and yet another amazing topic. My name is Maia. I am an international e-commerce strategist for my business, Savvy Studio 53. In addition to that, I'm here to really just talk and hope to teach anyone and also learn. I'm here to learn about relationships, but I'm also here to give advice of what I believe a positive, healthy relationship looks like, and also things that benefit and deter us away from positive relationships.
Brilliant. Richmond Cabral. We've been brothers for so many years. Yes. We've been through a lot. One of my, before I share an interesting story, tell our listeners who Richmond Cabral is in a nutshell.
So Richmond is, I'm a finance professional. I work downtown in Chicago. I'm married. I live in Downers Grove. And I think that this topic is really interesting. It's at the core of a lot of the issues that, like the doc said, affect relationships in Chicago. I mean, in everywhere, really.
Right.
So I think, I just wanted to be a part of it, just contribute. And when I was told to come on, I was like, yeah, that's interesting. I think
interesting.
that, I can bring some perspective and, just contribute and share views that people hitherto would not have thought about. And that's why I'm here.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
And whilst we wait for Belinda and Zipporah, I'll share a little interesting story that Richmond and I, experienced. I mean, we went to the same college. This guy here, Doc, he is the smartest guy in the house.
All right.
Okay, I know you're a doctor, but Richmond, when we were freshmen in school, he was teaching final year students. It tells you how smart this guy is. Very brilliant guy.
That's a long time ago.
And he's always been brilliant. When we were in school, we were good friends, right? And I was like, this guy's he's always studying at night, and I'm not a night person. But I'm like, this guy is smart. Okay, I want to be like him. So, and he's my buddy. So one of these nights, I'm going to go with him to study at night. And back home, when we study at night, when we try to stay up to study, they stay up with coffee, right? Coffee with no sugar. I think we don't add sugar and cream, right? Just so we can help us stay up. And everybody had their coffee. I'm like, yeah, Alinko, tonight I'm going to keep awake with my coffee too. I'm going. And we get to the lecture hall, and everybody is studying, sipping their coffee. And I started sipping mine too. I'm like, tonight is tonight. 30 minutes into the night, I started dozing off. I'm like, man, okay, maybe I didn't get the strongest coffee.
I remember that.
You know what that story? That was a nightmare. I'm like, how is it everybody is staying awake with coffee and I am trying to do the same and I'm even more sleepy than before? So I had to leave. Right.
Yeah.
I had to leave. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, we want to go straight into the conversation tonight. We know that there are so many different cultures and ethnic groups, but maybe if we start with Dr. Cook, what are some of the, if you can give us a background of some of these, some of the gender roles that we've known in the past, those that have existed in the past and with different cultures. You are an African American, so maybe you can speak from your perspective and also touch on other cultures if you are very versed with them regarding the historical roles that men and women were playing at the time. I mean, back in the days.
Well, this is very interesting you say that because our cultures and our relationships all evolve. And they evolve to a point of what is considered to be societal norm at that particular time. So in the last 50 years or so, our societal norm has just accelerated to a point that what we thought was yay, now is nay. What we thought was good is now bad.
Okay.
What we thought was not so good is now dope. You know, so from that perspective, when we look at relationships have not only have the emotional and the cultural and the environmental connotations, but it also has the connotations of who we are as human beings. See, right now we are living on the shoulders, on the past of our predecessors, our ancestors. So how did mama and grandmama teach us? What did we see daddy and granddaddy and uncles do? And that's how we have been taught. So when they talk about society, there are so many difficulties in relationships.
All right.
If we had we have a standard norm in a relationship as we had been taught, then the difficulties aren't that great. Because for one thing, a man is a man and a woman is a woman.
I wanted you to tell me back in the days some of the specific roles that men and women were known to be playing in relationships. But you'll come to that, okay?
I know since I got the gray hair, that I got to go back in the day.
Bring it back for us.
But I appreciate it.
Maia is going to give us her take on that as well.
I understand that. I remember growing up on the west side of Chicago in a 6-flat apartment building, where in all 6 apartments there was nobody but family there. And in that, my grandparents lived on the first floor. We lived on the second. My aunt and uncles, they were all around us. So we were taught what roles we should play. My grandmother had 10 children and never worked outside of the home. My grandfather and her developed an economic empire in which we still live on today. But his responsibility, as he taught us, is that the man was supposed to go out there and make good for the family. He was supposed to establish what the rules and regulations were in the family, and our grandmother carried them out. My father, the next generation, both him and my mother worked. But my father did something, and he taught me this. He says, as a man, your salary is supposed to be able to take care of all the expenses in the house, all the bare expenses in the house. The luxury comes from what your mama brings in. So, in other words, we weren't living above our means, but yet the 4 children of us, we were able to be taken care of. So we were taught that a man's role is one of responsibility, and the woman's role was the role of taking care of the responsibilities. So as I shared before in my book, and I've shared this before, is that a man determines the character of a child. His blood type, the character that comes from him, from his sperm, and is unite with the egg, he determines the character. But the mother determines the child's characteristics. because she nurtures the child. She grows the child. She's the most influential on a day-to-day basis, and that's how it was. Well, today it's not
quite
like
the same.
that.
Okay.
Quite.
There's fine young people here. I'm sure you are, at some point in time, obviously experienced your parents, how, they were managing stuff then, and then probably also spoke or learned something from your grandparents. Can you share with us what you knew were the norm there then? I mean, what the roles your grandmothers and the fathers were playing at the time? If you may, Maia.
I want to jump in really quick. I agree with a lot of things that you said because my grandparents actually grew up the same way in a flat. The whole family owned the flat. So I want to say like a few years, like maybe 20, 30 years ago, even 40 years ago, honestly, the black family was really the epicenter of how everyone operated. It was very important. The man and the woman played different roles, and those roles collaborated well with each other. I agree that the woman does set the tone of the house while the man sets the pace. And that was something that I've learned in watching my grandparents, because my grandparents were married for over 40 years, and watching their relationship and watching how they raised their children and how they fostered this home. I learned that, yes, the man provides security in the way of, here's the house that I brought you. Here's the house that I'm taking care of this. But it is the woman's perspective and position to increase whatever the man brings to the house. So I definitely agree with Mr. Cook in that way.
All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Listeners, I mean, if you're watching us on Facebook, we apologize for the little sitting arrangements. Dr. Cook being a fine gentleman as he is, he's showing, they're going to share that. He's showing the way as a gentleman. He's giving up his seat.
Chivalry.
Yeah.
Okay.
It does not die with Sir Walter Raleigh.
Okay. He gave up his seat for Belinda Sintim, who just came. I'm sure traffic. Thanks for joining us, and also Jojo's wife. I'm tempted to call Jojo is one of our own, our brother. He hosts a show here, 101. Wonderful gentleman. That's his beautiful wife in the person of Zippy Turkson. Well, everybody calls her Zippy. You may want to please get close to Cabral, okay? Jojo has given me the permission to, so you can get close to my friend. That way you can share the microphone, all right? And it's one of the reasons why we keep calling on the community to assist us so we can have a bigger place, so we can all come together as a community, have a forum, and have conversations like this. So thank you all for understanding and for making the necessary adjustments to make tonight's conversation a great one. Richmond, I know you definitely grew up, but you speak like someone who grew up with, elderly people, and it's not like you speak like it. I know you, and I know that you have, So tell me, how did you think it was from a Ghanaian perspective, or from the African perspective? What were the roles then?
I think like the African perspective leans more on what traditionally was the case. So if you think of if you go all the way back to medieval times, you're looking at the society where we had a hunter-gatherer society, where the man goes out to hunt and then comes back with whatever he comes back with, whether it's fruits or meat or whatever. And then there's a woman in the house who prepares it, and that's how it was defined, And so the African concept of, gender and role definition as it relates to relationships mimics that old way, and it hasn't changed a lot. Of course, modernization has creeped into our society, so you see where, there's been issues like gender equality. So, those roles have tapered a little bit. They've been redefined to kind of, suit the current environment. But if you go back, it's still the same. So growing up, back to your question, growing up, I grew up in an environment where, there was a defined role for a man, and there was a defined role for a woman or whoever she was, based off of the relationship, right?
Right.
So that, like you were saying, you alluded to the fact that, the man, he builds the house, and the woman creates a home, which are two completely different things, right? Because the structure itself is the house, right? But, a structure is not a home. It's the woman's responsibility to create an environment which is congenial and appropriate for the kids and everybody to dwell in, that they'll be comfortable, and that's what we will define as a home, right? So that's basically how I grew up, back in Ghana, where the roles were very defined. There wasn't, in
the mainstream of it.
Yeah, no, there
what
was,
you're supposed to do.
Right, you know your job, you do your job. I know my job, I do my job, and we can tangle like that,
And then he has to stay that way.
Exactly.
Everybody stay in their lane.
Exactly.
Zippy, also growing up in Ghana, do you think the old concept of the man doing this, the woman doing this, you think that has completely changed?
In current Ghana?
I mean, in our current society, here in the diaspora and in Ghana as well.
Looking at things...
Yes, please
Okay, yeah. So looking at things right now, I should say it has changed in some kind of way. Because as, he said, that was right. Growing up, the woman was supposed to be the homemaker, to take care of the kids, to cook the food, to, run errands and do everything at home. And that is how it has been. Putting my family into, perspective here. My dad would not touch any of us. He wouldn't do anything. But to say currently,
I think
touch us in taking care of us, feeding us, changing diapers, which I don't think he'll ever do, Yeah, so that is what I think was going on. But right now, in some cases in Ghana, I have seen, certain husbands, trying to help their wives, especially in this recent times where every woman wants to go to work.
Okay.
So
yeah. To you, that things have changed from how it used to be?
It hasn't totally changed, but I think it has changed to a certain percentage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dr. Cook, what kind of paved this way? So basically, we're all saying that, Belinda, welcome to the show. I did I get a chance to introduce yourself?
You did.
I did. Okay.
You did.
All right. I'll let Dr. Cook maybe respond to this quickly, and then we can move to the next things. I want us to talk about what a healthy relationship is in the first place. But before that, what paved this way? Because it seemed like we're all saying the same thing. Well, back in the day, it used to be men doing this, women doing it. All the rules were defined, right? Who paved these rules? Is it God institution? Did God institute this kind of rules for us? If you believe in the creation story, that God says the man should do this, the woman should do this, so as a result of that, human race just toed that line up until when it changed.
Well, it changed from man, not God. God was very, precise in how he created things, but how we form our cultures and our environments are determined by how we do what we do. As the brother was saying, back in Africa, they had to go out and get the food and bring in the vegetables and all those type of things. Well, now we go to the supermarket for that. We don't change diapers very much
what
anymore.
I'm saying is, what I'm saying is the original rules, those original rules that we're saying, was those rules instituted by God that the man should stay this way and the woman should do that, or the humankind just decided that, we would just, create the system that works for us?
Well, it had a lot to do with the physical roles of each person, too. Because men have traditionally been bigger than women. They have, and then also, too, it's something that we have a tendency to negate. Let me just finish this. And there are hormones in us that determine who should do and how we should do. So those are internal things within us, like testosterone, like estrogen.
Right.
Okay, there are different levels of all of these type of hormones that give signals to our brains to tell our physical bodies what to do. So if our capacity is limited or determined by those hormones, then our assignments have to go accordingly.
Okay. The reason why I asked the question is that we know there's a debate now. At least for now, it's difficult to determine, okay, first of all, who told you that the man is supposed to be doing this? Or who said the man's role is supposed to be is supposed to be this? Again, from what we're saying in the past, that is what we've witnessed and we've been used to. So who defined these roles for men and women for us to now have an argument about it? Go
I
ahead.
think I'm going to step in here.
Yeah.
Talk about the Bible and the creation. God created just Adam in the beginning.
That is for those who believe in the Bible.
That is for those who believe in the Bible
Okay.
to say.
Okay.
I do believe in the Bible. And with time, God decided to give Adam a companion and then a helper. So I think defining it from that perspective of, Genesis, that is why the human race, especially the men, believe that they were created to be superior, because when God created Adam, he told him to, take over everything. When Eve came, he told Adam Eve was going to be your helper. So the man believed that he was supposed to be the superior, to take care of things, and then his wife to help. And also talk about when God sent them out of the Garden of Eden, he told Adam that he was going to work. And it was the sweat of his hard work that was going to earn him, his living. And with the woman, God did not give her any role as in you are going to work. But he talked about to be fruitful and to multiply. So to be home and to be a homemaker, I think God had just created that, whole scenario for us to follow. And that is why it has occurred this way.
That's why it happened the way it is.
Yes.
Okay, so yes, Belinda.
I wanted to touch base a little bit on what Zippy said earlier in regards to the roles of how she grew up in Ghana and versus how things have changed. I grew up here, but I was born in Ghana, and I grew up in a two-parent household, but both were working adults. And now I'm married and two-parents household, both of us do work, but like it's changed, as in, like you were saying, your father never took care of you guys, the things that your mother would do. And I think with the...
let's clarify. Her father wouldn't help with taking care of the kids.
Well, what
is different from saying took care of them. He might have provided for them.
What her
Right.
mother would do.
Right, exactly.
Things that her mother would do.
Exactly.
She won't. That's what I
Okay,
said. So
cool.
things that her mother would do that he won't do, but of course he took care of them.
Okay.
So that's just how... when I growing up, just my mom worked, but she still had that defined role, as in she was still a homemaker. Yes, she brought home money too for the household, but she still had that defined role of she took care of us, and with the cooking and the cleaning and everything, even though she helped financially. And right now I'm in I work, my husband works and everything, but I think we defined our own roles, and it's not necessarily a gender roles. It's just what's best roles.
What works?
What works
for the two of us?
What works for the two of us?
I'll come back to you, Maia. Do you believe, or what's your take on the biblical theory that sets the pace for the human race, as she said?
So I actually agree with Ashley.
No, she's Zippy.
Sorry, Ashley. I actually agree with Zippy in that form of, yes, I believe that God actually set those tones, but I want to say after that, then men actually evolved, and that evolution was good and bad, right? Because if we take it back to older times, I want to say like maybe 16 and 1700s, and I'm going to talk about like white America, right? And how they treated their wives and how they actually treated their system of marriage. Yes, it was a horrible ripoff of what they believed Africans were doing, but they were controlling their wives in a different way, and they were married, off of exchange of money. This is my present, like, okay, you want better land, or let's just say there's two parties. The woman's family is poor and the man's family is rich. Give me your daughter and I'll give you some money. So that is a little different, because I wanted to say that, yes, that it was sat there, but I want to say that men kind of took that and ran with it and kind of altered those roles, which is why we kind of have problems now. And now we have all of these different movements out here, because now women, I want to say women have more freedom to choose their partners when it comes to who am I going to be with for the rest of my life? Who am I going to birth with, or actually have children with? Right, I want to say in the past, women and men, they didn't really have that option, right? Women were married off to whoever had more money, and they didn't actually have the choice to, I don't know, who am I going to, like, this is a 50-year-old man and I'm 13 years old. Okay. Who am I going to start a family with? So now I want to say in modern times, women do have the choice to marry. So now I want to say marriages now are a little bit more intentional.
Okay. Richmond, do you agree or disagree to the biblical precedents that was set with regards to roles for men and women?
Yeah, I absolutely. I mean, I think that, like, we all said, God, defined what his expectation was for, the man and then the woman. In that instance, now the man was the husband and the woman was the wife. So that's defined there. So it talks about how, the man would till the soil, right, which is work, become a farmer, whatever it is you do. And the woman would be home, and she have difficulty in birthing, right? And and her desire will be to please her husband.
Okay.
So for biblically, that's where that comes from.
Okay.
And I do agree with it.
So you wouldn't want to come from it. There is no other theory that contradicts this one.
But also, if one of the things we have to remember is that there is evolution, I think, like the doctor was saying, and custom. That is the way a group of people choose to do things. Society has also defined, the roles. So you realize that even in Ghana, where I grew up, there were communities where we had what we call a patriarchal society, where the man was more dominant, and then there are other subsets communities where the woman was more dominant. So you would see that the woman becomes the head of household, actually, and there are other instances where you see that the man is the head of household. So these roles change depending on where you are.
Okay.
And the communities that you are dealing with, because at the end of the day, as humans, we will do what is best for us naturally. That's what we gravitate towards.
Okay.
So
can I jump in really quick?
Quickly, and then Zippy can come in.
You just made me think about something about, like, I was giving perspective of, like, different cultures, but I do know in Asian cultures and some Central African cultures, I don't know who, but I know, like, the woman, it's kind of like reverse, right? The woman actually has multiple husbands.
Oh, okay.
And that's based on supporting, obviously supporting the tribe of children that they will have.
Yes.
I don't know what the names of the tribes are called, because this is practiced in Asia as well, in some places in India, but I am aware that there are societies, small societies, where the woman has multiple husbands in order to take care of the family.
Okay.
So you just made me think of that. So.
All right.
Yeah, I was gonna talk
Quickly,
about
and then we can
when he said there's been an evolution. It is true, but recently, I'm gonna make reference to a picture I saw on Facebook. There was this man in Ghana whose wife had gone to work. I'm not sure if
short
his
story.
wife. Yes, a very short story. And there was a picture of him, cooking something on the stove, at the same time with a baby on his back. And the comments I read from the African people, were really, really bad. Like, what sort of woman will leave her child with her husband to do this? Which man will do this? And in our language, they call them okwadonto, whatever, because they think the woman is overruling the man because he's doing this. So I feel like I don't know more about the Western culture, but in our culture, it is still going on, and men who support their wives that much usually will want to even hide it and not show it because they feel like, society will see them as weak.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because it's a custom, the tradition, and like Richmond said, it depends on where you live and where you are. The systems mold you accordingly. What would we say is a healthy? Now we're talking about roles for a healthy relationship. So what roles are we supposed to be playing to get into that not perfect, but that good serene that we all want? But what is that? What is the healthy relationship?
Can I jump in?
No, the doctor, he had his hand first. You can't see him because he's behind
A healthy
you.
relationship is a relationship that works between the people, between that couple. Because a man could be more comfortable or maybe better required, not required, but better suited to do certain roles in a family than a female is. Like, for instance, in my house, I do all the laundry.
Okay.
I do. Because it's a certain way I want it to be done. you know, and she don't have time for it.
You're like me, Doc. I do a lot of, I love doing it.
I do, and when it comes to interior decorating and taking care of the plants, I do all that in my house because that is what's required in our relationship.
There you go.
Now, do I cook a meal? No. I'll cook some turkey getty and pancakes sometime. But that's all I'm going to do. But it works for our relationship. You have to see what's going to work between you two. But the first thing you need to do is get that understanding together from Jump Street. You know, and I write it in my book. I keep referring to it. I'm not pushing books. But one chapter I have is there. It says, what do you do before you say I do? So you have to ask questions. In this relationship, a marriage in particular, are there going to be individual bank accounts or shared bank accounts? Are you going to live at my house or we're going to live at your house? Toilet seat up, toilet seat down. All of those type of things have to be considered, and you have to talk about them. Not just assume that it's going to be that way, but what's going to be healthy for your relationship to go on. And then you have to set some points in your relationship. If it's years, if it's months, or whatever, you have to have benchmarks to establish, are we having is our relationship successful after 12 months? If it's not, then what do we need to do to correct it? Because this is what we agreed upon before that. So when you do it from the beginning, then you can supersede a lot of problems as you go along the way.
You use a key word, agreed.
Agreed.
Should marriage be based on agreement, or should it be based of love and the fact that, okay, you have something, I have something, we can make it work, we can build a future and a longevity together? Or it should be based on, we are agreeing that you and I will live together on this basis, so when things change, plan B. We have to switch. Is that what it is? Is that what he has come to? Or can you guys help?
Yeah, I want to say something. One thing I believe in, when I was younger, I thought marriage and relationship was all based on love and feelings. But as I grew up, and as I went into one relationship and the other, and got all the experiences, I realized that marriage is not, or any sort of relationship, it's not based on the word love, because love is a feeling, and sometimes you feel it, sometimes you don't. So to be in a relationship with somebody or to be married to somebody, I don't think should be based on emotions, because when you talk about emotions, they can go and they can come at any time. But I believe that marriage should be based on your mindset. It is your mindset that I want to be with this person forever, or I want to be with this person for the rest of my life. That is why you go into that sort of relationship, which is called marriage. So on the days
For good or bad, right?
For good or bad, yeah. So on the days when you don't feel those emotions, which is the love people talk about, that mindset, exactly what is going to keep you through is the mindset that I still want to be with this person forever. And I know that you talked about communication. What I also wanted to say is that with communicating with people or your spouse, shouldn't just be talking about things at home, but it should be more of an open communication. Voice out what you feel, because I believe from an experience from my own parents' marriage, what broke up their marriage was open communication. One of the spouses will not voice out what is disturbing them in a relationship. If your husband did this, my mom, let me be open, my mom will not say it. She'll rather keep it within her because she felt like she was being submissive by not confronting my dad about what he did. And that is the African, way of living with a wife and a husband. You have to be submissive. So when your husband does this, you have to be quiet about it and not say anything. So with that, the woman or the man will harbor a lot of things in them. And then at that point where they cannot take it anymore, that is where the marriage just breaks up. So I feel like with talking about things and discussing things, it should also be about, bringing out your emotions and your feelings. Whatever you feel, you have to bring it out. and that is what also creates a healthy relationship. Because when there is nothing, you're hiding from your husband, and when there is nothing, the husband is hiding from the wife, then you guys are open.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. To you, a healthy relationship is when the woman has nothing to hide and she feels free in her heart, and so is the man, right? So when both parties feel that way, to you, that is a healthy relationship. Doc says iffy. Last week we talked about the effects of loneliness. So we also we established that people can be in relationships, even in marriages, and still be lonely. So now we're talking about loneliness and how loneliness can affect your health and affect your life in so many ways. So to not be lonely and have those negative effects, what then should we do to have a healthy relationship? And I want to ask Belinda. First of all, tell us what a healthy relationship is, if you may.
What a healthy relationship?
Yeah, from your perspective, what would you say? Yeah.
Well, a healthy relationship is based on, as the doctor said, what works in that particular, those two individuals. So what Zippy was touched base on, communication is key, and that's what keeps that relationship healthy. When you're able to voice your opinion, able to express how you feel, keeping that line of communication open, and not when your partner voices their opinion, not taking it so personal that you're going to be angry about it, but just being understanding and being able to take into heart that, okay, this is what you did, this is how it made them feel, and what can you do different for this not to happen again. So communication is communication is key in all relationships. So if you
Belinda,
don't have that,
in your case, what would you say? Can you tell us what your feeling would? What your state of feeling should be at to say, you know what, this relationship is healthy for me. You in person.
me in person,
yes,
I'm able to tell this person anything. Like,
good.
Yeah.
So what you said buttresses her point.
Yeah,
that you're able. There's nothing to hide. You're able
There's
to say
nothing to hide.
Good. Dr. Benton was giving me a signal. Did you want to comment on that before Cabral comes in? Richmond comes. Richmond, go ahead.
I think for me, I think that open communication can be a little overrated, and I'll tell you why. And I'm married too.
How long have you married?
I've been married for 1.5 years.
Zippy, how long?
For 3 years.
For 3 years, and then Belinda?
9 years.
9 years. Doctor, 12. This is the.
I am not married.
Okay, we hear you.
And the reason communication is great, and I think that it's one of the ingredients for a healthy relationship. But I think that mutual respect is key for each other. In other words, the fact that we have an open communication does not mean that I should tell you anything that's on my, I should just come out and just tell you because I can talk to you. Okay. I think we have to, communication needs to be defined within a certain context and a certain boundary. Because if you cannot respect someone and talk to the person in a respectful way, and you can just in the name of communication just say whatever you're going to piss the person off, right? So you're communicating, but you're not communicating in a good way,
or you are
right?
not helping the health
you're not helping
of
each other, right? And I think that another key is, people in a relationship, first, communication is key, respect each other, and also play your part in the relationship. People, I think the doctor was saying that, you can do what is best for you. But I think that sometimes you can only do what is best for the both of you to an extent, till one person get tired. Commitment says that in spite of the fact that we are here and I'm able to do this, marriage is I am committed to this, and even though, like she was saying, I feel differently, I still have to do it because I'm committed to you.
Because your mindset is that.
Yeah. So it's not so much about let's do what. That's how I understand it. It's not so much about let's do what because this is what works. In other words, if doctor if for some reason he cannot do the laundry, what happens?
Right.
Right. What happens? If for some reason I'm not able to fulfill my part, what happens? Okay. Then we have a little breakdown there.
Right.
And who picks up the slack?
Should we? Right.
Unfortunately.
An open question. the roles that we were talking about, which existed in the past, the men do this, the men. Should we say that, or can we say that it was a better way of life than what we have now?
I
Or
think it was an easier way of life.
so it wasn't better? Okay.
I don't think it was better. It was easier to find. Like now, marriages are more complicated, and it's not as easily like the back
But
then.
if it was
the roles are-
easy, was it helping? Was it helping to create a healthy relationship? Then
It created a better family environment.
Yeah, yes.
Than what we're presently experiencing right now. Because, excuse me
No, go
for
ahead.
interrupting, but see, we have to, when we have a marriage, first of all, that agreement, that's a contract.
Okay.
Yes.
You know, and that's a contract to be honored. And you're making the contract first to God and then to these individuals on a legal way. So you're doing a spiritual, you're doing your vertical, and then you do your horizontal cementing of a contract. So at that point in time, you say, my commitment is unto you. Now, sometimes you may not like the person that you're with. You know what I'm saying? It can be days that you just don't like even being with them. You know, like I can be moody and don't want to even talk sometimes.
Right.
You know, and same way, but she, you know, she's so vivacious and, you know, she'll try to make me talk. But you know, it's the thing of what's going to work for you. But she knows that those moments, okay, if I don't come out of it, then fine. But I still love her. You see, I may not show that I'm in love with her right then, because that's an emotional response. In love is emotional. Love is a commitment. So when I go into that type of bag, then, you know, or anybody goes into that type of bag, you got to give them the space to do it, because everybody's not going to tell you everything. A woman's not going to tell you everything. A man's not going to tell you everything.
Right.
It's some things that you got to keep to yourself. You know, for a healthy relationship. You see what I'm saying? Because you're looking at it for the long haul, not just something temporary. That's what a marriage is all about. And I'm going to just put this thing in here, and then I'll be quiet. But since we go back to biblical references, in the Bible, in Ephesians 5:20, God tells the husband and the wife to submit to one another. Then he goes down a little bit further in 22 and says, husbands, love your wife as Christ loved the church. And then it tells the woman to submit to your own husband. To your own husband. It never in the Bible does the Bible say for the woman to love her husband. Why is that?
We don't know if it's unless you tell us.
Because when a man loves his woman, then he covers her and gives her such a support mechanism that she ends up loving him back. The submission, the importance of the submission is, and believe it or not, the submission is the controlling factor in the relationship.
Okay,
I agree absolutely, but you would realize, and you're absolutely right, but this is the point of contention in most marriages today. If you're a Christian, is the concept of submission, right? That's where like everybody. But what does it mean? You know, are you trying to control me? Are you trying to, exercise authority over me? Are you trying to pin me down and make me look like someone who just stays at home and is nobody? And I think that's where I agree that at that point, two people have to respect each other, and they also have to define the context of submission. Right.
Okay. So you were saying we have to define the context of submission. Which one should we take, or which one should we work with? Is it the one that was instituted by the maker, or the one that we feel as a society now that because things have changed, things are not the same anymore, let's start redefining submission as it was? Which one should we go with?
We got into a discussion about this the last time on the show.
I know, right?
Submission. But submission is acquiescing to something or somebody. Submitting. That doesn't mean that you are inferior. That doesn't mean that you are being subjugated onto. It means that you're acquiescing. You are accepting of what's going on. That's why in the Bible it tells, first it says the man and the woman to submit one to another.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay.
One to another. So
Right.
both of you submitting.
Okay.
You know, my wife, I submit to her and she submits to me.
Right.
Right.
Okay? So it's not anything it's not a power struggle or a power play whatsoever. It's at that point in time we have to understand that it is healthy for a relationship to understand what you need to acquiesce, what you need to submit to, and what you need to stand up for.
Maia, the two ladies were saying, I mean, they, from their submission, they said that when they're able to communicate freely to their partners, that's when they feel they have a healthy relationship. Personally, what else, apart from communication? If you agree to that, that's fine. If you don't, what else would you say you would have to feel or experience to say that, you know what, this is healthy for me?
Okay. Well, two things. First, let me piggyback off of him before I forget my thought. I 100% agree with that. And the negative thing about modernism today is a lot of people today in this society, we get completely confused and we believe that it is a power struggle. And now you have people misinterpreting the Bible, saying, oh, because the woman is the weaker vessel, that means that she is to submit to me. And they completely forget, or they completely do not see the fact that they are submitting onto each other. So that is the problem. One of the problems that I will say with current relationships right now is that they believe it's a power struggle, and it's, oh, well, who's dominant over the other? Or you have women where women are competing because they believe that that's how they would attract a man. Let me compete with this man to get his attention. In reality, he's running him away. But to go back to what you were saying was, yes, I believe that in a positive, a healthy relationship, communication is so important. Whether that communication is physical, whether that communication is mental or spiritual, I think that's extremely important. Yes. And also, you guys were talking a lot about communication and what that looks like for you guys' marriages or your parents' marriages. I'd say another thing is to talk to one another. And a lot of people, I'll say an example in my family, if there's an issue going on within the house and within the couple, within the man and the woman, sometimes, in order to avoid conflict, I'll talk to everyone else but you, my husband. I'll talk to everyone else but you, my wife, until that time where it's just explosive. And until that time that we're not able to talk to each other about something. So I believe that obviously having that intimacy and honoring each other's opinions and honoring each other's decisions before going outside of your marriage, before going outside of your house home, or before going outside in another way, before it takes to that point to talk to one another. You said what other things besides
Communication would you say is a happy place for you?
Okay, so I'd say that as a woman, I'm looking for something, as in a relationship, I'm looking for something different. I can provide a man something and a man can provide me something that doesn't look the same, and that's okay. For example, a man needs respect. This is what I'm learning because from my wonderful relationship coach. So a man, he absolutely needs respect, but there are needs that a woman needs too, and those needs are security. What does that security look like? Yes, one of the methods of security is to provide me that wonderful home, is to provide me all of the things, and you're providing that space for me to flourish. The second thing is insecurity is communication, what that looks like. Sometimes that looks like me spending time with my wife.
So for you, Maia, communication, yes, you agree, when you're able to communicate freely and also living in a peace, like a home, a place where you can function as a person, is what you would say is a good relationship or a healthy relationship for you, be it marriage or an intimate, serious relationship that leads to one, right?
Yeah, I think communication is extremely
Am I correct on that?
Yes, but that's going into communication. So communication and also security.
Yes. Now I'm saying that you agree that communication and security is providing a home space for you, right?
Providing
physically.
Space, yes.
A physical space for you.
Yes.
Okay, good. It's 8 p.m. Central here in Chicago. We're still talking on the roles for a healthy relationship with our beautiful guest here. Wonderful discussion. If you just joined us on Facebook, please share the feed. so that what we are discussing here can benefit a friend, a family member, a co-worker, and they can also chime in and share their knowledge, which we can also learn from. All right. Okay. We will take a short musical break and then continue with the discussion later. Stay tuned. We shall be right back.
Американская фирма Transceptor Technology приступила к производству компьютеров «Персональный спутник».
Whip, I snap, attack, front to back, in this thing called rap. Thinking like a double rhyme, double on a heavenly level. Bang the bass, turn up the treble. Radical mind, day and night, all the time. 714, wise, divine. Maniac, brainiac, winning the game. I'm the lyrical Jesse James.
Everything's been going fine, and I proudly tell the world, yeah, she's mine, one and only. I ain't going nowhere. I ain't gonna leave my lady. Oh no, no, she's mine, one and only. I ain't going nowhere. I ain't gonna leave my lady. She does makes me feel so good inside. Tell the Lord in Zion, I said, oh, she's the right one for me. He made no mistake, and I
seen a girl around the corner. All it did was make me think of you and I'm missing you. Girl, feel like I can't take no more. I've been trying, but you won't take my calls tonight. I'm missing you. Girl, I know I messed up, but I fessed up. Thought a little time would bring you back. Now I'm a wreck, 'cause it clearly wasn't so. So tell me what to do or what to say to make it right, 'cause I need your arms around me every night. To me you're worth a trillion, you're one in a million. I'll never find a woman like you. If you would give back your heart, I swear by all love, I'd spend a lifetime making it up to you. Every night coming home to you. Oh, 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 yeah.
the magnitude, but refuse to give up hope and say that I'm missing you. Just want you to know that 10 years from now, I'll still be knocking at your door now. Your love is irreplaceable, irreplaceable. So tell me what to do or what to say to make it right, 'cause I need your arms around me every night. To me you're worth a trillion, you're one in a million. I'll never find a woman like you. If you would give back your heart, I swear by our love, I'd spend a lifetime making it up to you, every night coming home to you. Oh, 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 yeah.
This is WGHC 98.3 FM.
Well, they say 7 is a lucky number. It's exactly 7 minutes past the hour of 8. We're still logged on to WGHC 98.3 FM. Your voice, your music, your station. If you love what we're doing, or at least admire it, please go on our website, WGHCFM.org, and make your donation. Right now, you can choose. There are so many options. You have the option, actually, to choose a type of show that you like, your favorite show, or to donate to an equipment, which is what we need. We need headphones, a lot of equipment. We need bigger space. So please go on there and help us to keep doing what we're doing, because we are a community radio station, and we thrive on your donations. If you just join us on Facebook, please share the feed so your friends and our friends can participate in this discussion. In a few minutes, we'll go back to the conversation. But before that, a few folks here on Facebook are Akofa, Jocelyn Akofa Mignon, and Rebecca Mode. We have Felix Boama, Empress Mausi, my own sister, Monica Tufor, Candy, Mr. Candy is here. Miss Adam, Living Comfort Agbenya is also here. Bennett Baini is here. Samuel Yeboah, Joseph Mensah. Rebecca says, well said. Baini says, Shivri is still alive and kicking. Thanks. A real gentleman indeed. Rita Sameko Fiajo Tewia is also watching. Rosalind Brechem Dogbe, sorry, and then Esther Bijo Fowu, Prince Boache. Mansat Labi says, what works for the couple? Muftauddin is also here. Bennett again says, I think we, especially Africans, always have the tendency to equate everything through the religious standpoint, just like Mr. Cook said quite rightly, after instinctively our various roles both sexes play in marriage is based on factors like testosterone, etc. I don't think this has anything to do with God. Salasi Amekuji, my own brother, is also here. And Haj Kofi, Hamaje, Emmanuel Kofi, Nyamiche, Bebeta Rosita. And then who else? NK, the maestro, the legend of the house, is watching us. Guy Buaka is also here. And then Constance Autry, Joseph Awinyoga are all joining. Thank you for joining in. Please share the feed so we can all learn from this. A few announcements here. This is Jabari CJ Productions in association with Jamaica for Life presents Chicago Jerk Festival. This is going to take place on the 24th of June. It's a Sunday. Gate will be open at 11 a.m. featuring artists Kokoti, original Kokoti, will be in the house. Tanya Stevens, Dexter Dubs, Agent Sasko, Sarini, Kipridge, Ja, Vici, Papa, Michigan, Statios, The Angel, Father Fox. All those great artists are going to be representing band. This will be backed by Indica Band. If you know Indica Band, They are awesome group of people, so you don't want to miss this event. It's going to be happening at the Washington Park, 5100 South Cottage Grove Avenue, Chicago, Illinois. You better expect jack food, bountiful of that is going to be available, seafood, arts and crafts, live music. There's going to be a zone for kids. So if you have kids, no problem. If you want more information, go to chicagojerkfest.eventbrite.com. Get tickets early at $25. This is going to be a Booyaka event. On the same vein, in July between the 6th to 8th at the Union Park, Chicago, 1501 West Randolph Street, is going to be the 26th African Caribbean International Festival of Life, organized by Martyrs International. Representing there would be King Yellow Man, and then Sweet Mikey, who is the former president of Haiti. His actual name is Michael Martelli. His stage name is Sweet Mickey. And then also representing on the 8th of July in the same event would be Kipleton, the Prophecy Band, and Reggae Fireman. You don't want to miss this one. And then before all these ones is the WGAC Street Festival on the 26th of May right here in Uptown between Broadway and Sunnyside. Don't miss that one because it's going to be a wicked one. WGAC is organizing this festival to promote or to fight. We are campaigning against gang violence in a community that is suffering from one. So make sure that this event, you don't miss this event on the 26th of May here in Chicago between Broadway and Sunnyside. Next week, talking about gang violence, we're going to be having the Honorable Dorothy Brown, who is going to be talking about her expungement program, which is basically giving a chance to people who are falling victim to gang or maybe have a record. If you have a bad record and it's inhibiting you in progressing in life, you want to tune into next week's show with Dorothy Brown, who's going to be telling you about how you can, their office can help you get all those bad records so you can have a second chance to life. All right, back to the conversation here. Actually, we just heard that we have Rebecca on the line. Tell us where you're calling, why you're calling, and your name, please. You're already Rebecca. Tell us why you're calling.
Yeah, already. My name is Rebecca. As you said, from Chicago. I want to give a big shout for all the speakers. You've done a very good job. Just want to contribute. One thing which can help a very good relationship in marriage is that God knows that we'll be struggling here and there in our relationship when we get married. So we all have to get back to the Bible. Anytime you are struggling in your marriage or relationship, the couples have to get together and read whatever is good for them in the Word. And then one thing will help is a lot of forgiveness. But Ephesians 5:24 says that we should always let sunset, and we should not allow sunset upon when we are angry. We should solve issues before we get to bed. So it keeps the relationship very fresh every time. A lot of forgiveness, a lot of tolerance will help the relationship. It is what I want to add to the contribution, to contribute to your show.
Thank you so much. We appreciate your contribution. I'm sure a lot of people have learned from from your input here. The number to ring in is 773-942-7167. 773-942-7167 if you want to ask a question or contribute to this. Now, let's come back to the panel here. How has modern society altered these roles that we've all been used to when it comes to relationships? Dr. King, you've been silent for a while.
I'd say first and foremost, unrealized expectations. We are putting a sense of responsibility on a relationship more on someone else than on ourselves. You hear this expression, I want you to make me happy. Nobody can make you happy. You got to be happy for yourself. So we come into relationships a lot of times so needy, so wanting other people to fulfill things that we're unable to or unable to do. So I think it's very important for us to understand what the expectations are. That's why I say it's so important to talk ahead of time in a relationship, because sometimes someone can provide to you some things that can help you, but they're not going to be all in all for you, and don't expect that. So I'll call it unrealized expectations.
Unrealized expectation in this modern world.
Unrealistic expectations too.
Okay, unrealistic. Okay. We would go to you guys later, but we have a call on the line. So tell us where you're calling from and your name, please.
Hey, this is Ken.
Hello, Ken.
Yeah, greetings to everybody. Hey, Zippy. Hey, Belinda. Nice to see you guys in the studio once again. It's a great topic and a very relevant topic. Oftentimes we know that we talk about relationship issues and all of that, so we think sometimes we have the answers, but this is really good, and then we need to talk more about it. Two-part question. First one is, does the second generation and the first generation of African descent in the diaspora, the way the cultural differences, for instance, maybe someone is born in America and raised in America, and then meet someone that is raised in Africa, and the cultural differences and all of that, even though they're all from an African descent, but yet when they get together, does it have an effect on how the relationship or marriage turns out because of the cultural differences and where they were raised? That's my first question. Second question is, Mrs. Turkson sitting there, it's on social media, and we see how the husband, Jojo Turkson, works very closely and support the wives and vice versa. And what does it take for that to happen? What type of understanding, what type of sacrifice or commitment do you need to possess to be able to do that to your partner? I don't know if my question is clear.
Yeah, that's your question. Yeah.
Yes, your question is clear.
Okay, so you wanna respond to it? Who want to take it first, or who else? Who somebody else wants to go?
Yeah, I can. So, his first question was talking about, getting married to somebody who did not grow up, in a kind of culture where you grew up. I want to put my little brother and his wife into this.
We've all
he was born
used
here,
to when
but
it
grew
comes
up
to
in Ghana. So he was raised like a Ghanaian man should be raised. His wife was born here and raised here. We were born in Ghana too. So let's put this into this context. When he was about to get married, we wanted him. Because of how we grew up, the woman was supposed to be the homemaker in Africa. She was supposed to take care of her husband in terms of cooking, cleaning, and doing, other stuff. And to my best knowledge, I feel like in the modern world, or in the Western world, if I should say, there's some sort of equality between the couple. I'm not against men who help their wives, but I believe that as God has created the woman to be the homemaker, she should take full responsibility, of taking care of the home. But I was more concerned because I felt like if he married somebody who wasn't an African, he would go hungry because not every woman in America knows how to cook. And from where I grew up, your man has to be filled up, satisfied with food.
Good food. Good
food,
yes.
Exactly. So I was more concerned because I was like, are you going to be okay, with a woman who doesn't, cook?
Right.
I don't mean to call this out, but to put this into perspective, this is what happened.
Right.
But
right.
he decided that he was ready to be committed to her. So he did not care whether she was doing that or not, and they got married. And to our surprise, he has done really well. They've been married for, let's say, the past 6 years, and they have so many kids together, and they're still making it work.
Wow.
So with that, I feel like if one of the spouses whose culture demands certain things decides to give up what he believes in and want to be with a woman, as I said, the mindset, you can do it.
You can do it.
And then with his second question about me and my husband, it is the same thing. We have a mindset. He has a mindset. When we met, his mindset was, I want to get married to a woman that I want to spend the rest of my life with. I want to be with her forever. in that case, I also had the same
Mindset.
mindset that whoever I got married to was going to be the only person I was going to be with. So it wasn't about how we felt and how so much in love we were, but it is the mindset. And we've had ups and downs. Of course, people see us on social media and feel like it's all
nice and dandy,
fairy tale.
Fire day house.
Well,
sometimes
fire no day sort of.
No.
It gets a little bit hot.
It's a jargon. Yeah,
yes,
it's a jargon.
But at the end of the day, we have an open communication, and we make it work because no matter what happens, emotion arises, we calm it down, and then we move on.
I like your point where you've been stressing on mindset a lot, because it's the mind controls the heart. Exactly. That is why obviously the mind is up here and the heart is here. So you can you need that strong mindset.
Exactly.
I like that.
Let me
Dr. Cook, you will give me a signal. Okay.
Let me. I'll just add to that, and I think that for me, there are a lot of stereotypes that, for instance, there is the whole concept of an African, right? So, I think, and you hear it a lot, that this is how Africans behave, this is how it's done in Africa. Sarah Palin used to think that Africa was a country, right? So there are a lot of discussions that is not accurate at all. So I think first and foremost, there is no African culture. There's nothing like that. Africa is broken down into countries, and then in those countries there are ethnicities and tribes, and within those tribes there are homes, and within those homes there are people. And if you want to subjugate it, like go down and down and down, each one human being in Africa might have a distinct culture from even where he or she is. So I think that if you can understand it like that, then you can also say that it's not so much of the culture, but who are you? Is your culture defining you, or you are defining the culture?
Or you are making it work.
Or you're making it work. And I think that that's where the problem is, and that's why you find a lot of, people stuck in, well, I'm African, and so I'm supposed to portray a certain culture. And they are so entrenched that, they're not willing to come out.
Yeah, to break away from it.
So I think if you want to, answering the gentleman who called is, and I'm married to an African American, so I'll tell you, if you want to marry outside of quote unquote your culture, you have to move away from what you call your culture is. That's the first thing.
Right.
Because it's not going to work. If you're going to stick to, this is my culture, this is the way we do things, and she also says, this is my culture, and this is the way we do things, guess what? Nothing is going to work. Right? So everybody has to leave everything that they know and cling on to behind, and let's start something together, right? Let's start something afresh. Let's, open a fresh page and say, how are we going to do this?
Okay.
What does it mean to us? It's not so much of what does it mean to me as an African, but what does it mean to us? Redefine that.
What does it mean to us?
Right.
Which is basically redefining the roles that we've been used to, which has not necessarily helped our relationships. And to one that works. Even in organization, there are always changes, right? They call them improvements, sustainability and improvements, training and all that. It's just so that you don't have to stay obsolete in doing. I think one of the problems of Africa, the continent, is that we've been stuck in one method of producing.
Yes, and that's largely because we associate culture with our lives.
There you go.
So we think, this is my culture, that's me.
Yes.
Okay, well, your culture cannot be you.
Right.
It's not possible for your culture to be you.
Thank you for bringing
So you have
that
to
up.
distinguish the two.
Excellent.
So you have people who come from Ghana and bring Ghana to America, right? So you like,
my brother, you are hitting it.
How are you living in Ghana in America?
Yes.
How does that work out? So you have that, and that creates a problem.
Yes.
Where people cannot assimilate in a system, in a society.
That is the best line so far.
You see that.
You live Ghana, you are living in America like you are living Ghana in America.
Right.
That mindset, Jesus Christ. Please, Dr. Cook.
One thing that we also have to put into this conversation is the institutional racism that's been inflicted upon people of color in this country.
Okay.
And it's not only something that we as African Americans have been experiencing generationally, but anybody who comes over here with a complexion darker than,
Not for the protection.
you know. Yeah. See, because so at that point in time, you are judged by the same standards and by the same rules as the master has been put upon us as African Americans for a long time. And see, that's what people have to understand. And is that not that you should just subjugate your culture or subjugate your humanity, but understand where that is coming from. Because that type of racism, you know, of course there was colonialization in Africa. And I got a chance to not only spend time in Western Africa, but also Southern Africa. I lived in Zimbabwe for 5 years. And then I visited Kenya for months at a time. So I saw the difference in the cultures, as you all talk about, as you talked about, brother, in the different parts of Africa. But once you come over here, you have to understand that traditionally black people have been taught to break up black families. Okay? Not only in slavery, but also in Jim Crow. And it was just for a short period of time after Jim Crow that we had to come together, and it was accepted as the norm. And then when Jim Crow took over, and that was only like a 20-year period of time, y'all. So let's understand U.S. history. After the Civil War, up until Jim Crow came, there was amalgamation of families and a growth of black nationalism, and you had more black senators and representatives. But then when Jim Crow came in here, that was a different kind of racism for black folks, because we had to go, and not only were we not subjected to the protection of our quote-unquote masters, but we were also subjected to the harsh treatment of white racism. So when you come over here to this country, you have to understand you're going to be a part of that. Don't run from it, and don't embrace it, but understand it.
Right.
Because that affects how you are viewed in relationships, period.
And that affects your behavior in relationships.
Especially with African Americans.
And, well, yes. And so if you are black, you fall under that category. I don't think we are any exceptions for the fact that we are from Africa. Yeah.
Correct.
So there's a way that the system has influenced people, especially people of color, which is affecting how they deal with people in relationships, and then also in marriage.
And the different shades of black.
The different shades of black.
Darker skin versus light skin.
Light skin. The lighter you are,
an accent or not
an accent.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think that absolutely. I mean, you nailed it. I think that's absolutely the case. And you know, for people like me, and you know, some of my sisters here who come from, you know, from Africa, we might not realize it, but there is an unconscious what is called ethnocentrism, where you feel that your culture is superior to other people.
Other culture.
And I think that's not a good thing. You know, because like he alluded to, you know, the whole idea of the system as it's created is to divide people of color. So when we come in and we tend to convey the message that our culture is superior, and therefore if I'm in a relationship with you, I want to move you towards my culture because I think that either you don't have a culture or what you have is garbage.
Right.
That is not good. That is not good at all. You always have to give people an opportunity, and that's why I'm saying that this whole cultural thing can be a problem in relationships. Now, if you're married to if you're from Ghana and you're married to a Ghanaian, you probably will be okay. But if you want to marry someone outside of quote unquote your culture, I think that you have to forget about the whole culture thing and, you know, have a conversation on what is good for us.
There is a schism in between Africans and African Americans.
Yeah. Can you say that again? Can you get close?
I said that creates a schism or a problem between Africans and African Americans.
Yes.
Because some African Americans perceive the fact that Africans are coming over with a superiority complex because they have not been subjected to what's going on, and thinking that we should be able to do better than what we have been able to do until you be here for a while.
So because of this history, that might affect a gentleman like Richmond if when his wife is an African American, So with this mindset, just like you narrated, if he was typically in the African mindset, I'm better than, based on what we know, and he thinks of this lady, African American lady, in a negative light because of, what we just talked about, then obviously they wouldn't have had a wonderful relationship that they have now.
Right.
They're happily married. So I think these discussions are very important. The mindset. Nobody is better than the other, and no culture is superior than the other. So that we don't let these things affect how we deal with people in our relationships, more so in marriages. Please, quickly, and then we'll move to the next topic. And actually, I know Belinda has been quiet for some time. Okay, we have a caller on the line.
Okay.
Quickly, and then we'll go to the caller.
Okay, so I wanted to talk about our culture as, you said...
Richmond, his name is Richmond.
Richmond. As Richmond said, we don't have to throw, because the culture is a way of life, as you said. It doesn't 100% define us, but I feel like if it is a way in which you have grown up, it becomes a part of you.
Okay.
So you cannot throw that culture away. You cannot throw where you came from away. But what I believe in is that you have to be able to adjust to every environment you go into,
regardless of your culture.
Regardless of your culture.
Yeah.
As in this modern times, as we travel and move to different places, I feel like we also have to take other people's culture and add it to ours, and then make an adjustment where we can also be able to, as our pastor was saying, coming here, I know, and I have experienced where most Africans will feel like African Americans do not have a culture because, where we come from has a more structured way of life. But I feel like how they grew up is also their culture. So I don't think that anybody should bring anybody's culture down.
And feel superior. This is a conversation we're going to have on the platform. Maia was here when we had this discussion. We're going to have it in a more detailed form. But basically what you were saying is that let's not carry this mindset that my culture is better than someone's culture, so that it affects how we deal with them. Whether you could just have a good relationship, like a professional relationship with this person. But if you have this, demonic or negative mindset behind it, that I am, it is demonic when you think that you are better than somebody. But it's from a bad spirit. It's a bad spirit. It is.
What you're doing is you're putting yourself ahead of somebody else.
And that's what I'm saying.
That's the pure definition of being prejudiced.
Thank you for defining it for us, Dr. Cook. Caller, please tell us your name and why you're calling.
Yeah, it's me again. It's Kay again. And this is a great, great discussion. I wish there's part 2, part 3, or part 4 to this. But I think Mr. Turkson, that is Zippy, you kept mentioning mindset. So it's all about the mindset. And then you said it wasn't more so on your feelings with your husband. It was more of a determined mindset and commitment that you guys wanted to make with each other. I get that. I want to play the devil's advocate for a minute here. Now, if it's a mindset, and they said that you get to the altar, it says for better, for worse, and all of that. And most of the time, people often think for worse is when the person is sick or when the person is poor and then you don't leave them and all of that. But what if somebody cheats on you? What if the person goes as far as making a mistake and cheat on you? And your mindset, how does your mindset play a role there? I mean, people's mind change all the time. You could be hurt, you could be devastated, things can happen. And do you then, what helps or what backs your mindset to stay in a relationship when you get cheated on? Because the person can make a mistake and cheat on you.
Lola, you need a standby mindset to help you in this case.
No, I mean, I just want to know, because
let her respond.
That it wasn't about how they felt about each other. It was a mindset. They made their mind. They want to spend each other, spend the rest of their life. But minds change at all times. Our minds change. Things can happen that can change your mind. So what is the back? I mean, do you get my question?
Yes, she gets the point.
When the going gets tough.
She gets the point. She wants to respond to your point.
I do get your point. When I talk about mindset, as I said in the beginning, if you base a relationship mostly on what you feel in your heart alone, it is not going to work, because one thing I have realized in the Western world, and especially in America, is that people go into relationships, they date, they like each other, they feel so many sort of, all this fairy tale feelings against their for their spouse or their partner, and then they feel like we're so much in love. But guess what? After 2 weeks, after 2 months, the relationship is over. And when you ask, they tell you, I didn't feel what I felt in the beginning. Of
Mrs.
course.
Turkson, what is love?
Well,
Yes.
Kofi, before you go into I wanted to respond.
The statement, love conquers all.
Well, Kofi.
So then what is love? We have to define what love is first. Then we can see what it conquers.
Okay, wait. Kofi, before we define what love is, give her the chance to respond to your question, which is, what if the person, your partner, be the man or woman, cheats on you?
Yes.
How
So
does the
I'm getting
mindset
there.
help you overcome this?
So as I was saying, if you base it on your heart, the feelings in your heart alone, it doesn't work for you. So when you meet somebody, which I feel like every relationship, anybody who's trying to advise anybody going into a relationship or into a marriage should tell the person that if you meet somebody, in the first place, you have to make up your mind. The mindset I'm talking about corresponds with commitment. You make up your mind, I want to be with this person forever, and I am going to be committed to this person forever.
Because of time, go straight to the.
Yes.
I want you to answer his question. Move to another
I'm
things.
getting there. So that if anything of this sort, as he's saying, cheating or your husband offending you or anything happens, you have made up your mind that no matter what, I want to be with this person. You understand what I mean? I want to make a life with this person.
So Kofi, her straight answer to you is that even in that situation, because she's set her mind, there's no reset option for her. For her, it is to this man, good or evil. Okay, so whatever happens to her, she is committed.
And that is why you go into the marriage, because it says for better and for worse.
Okay.
If you are not ready to
Mrs.
solve
Turkson
that
for
problem for better, to stay with the person and to stay with the person in the worst, then there's no point going into that commitment in the first place.
Say better for worse. Okay,
Exactly.
Richmond.
Let me add this real quick, and I'll just speak on the basis of marriage and the Christian perspective, right? Okay, so in a Christian perspective, I think you would allude to this. There is what is called the permanent view of marriage. In other words, once you get married, forget about divorce. It's not even an option. And then there is something called the permissible view of marriage, which, divorce is allowed under the circumstances of adultery. So in the situation that you describe, based off of what you hold on to, I'm not going to tell you what to do and what not to do, but it looks like you, Zippy, you are more on the permanent side. So you say marriages. So
not just me, but me and my husband.
Okay.
You have that mindset.
Again, before two people get married, they have to understand what kind of marriage are we in. Are there grounds for divorce, or there are no grounds for divorce, and they both have to come to that
agreement.
Yeah, and agree. Otherwise, something is going to happen, and you say, well, that's a ground for me to leave you. And she's like, well, you never told me that. What's going on? Okay. So I think that based off of where you are, Kofi or Ken, just define it that way. And the Bible always give you, a reference and, how to move.
I think somebody on the Facebook feed was contributing that, sometimes we all the time connect this to God, and which is a good thing, because that's where the institution of marriage comes from. But and then with the whole mindset thing, that's why I got a little confused there, because the foundation of marriage is on love. And when we say love conquers all, I just want to go back to something that Kanye West did that was all over the news. I'm not talking about the slave thing that he said is a choice, but the gesture that he showed when the conversation was going on, if you watch the whole footage, I think that's a gesture of love conquering all. When things don't really go your way, and your mind is telling you to go the other way, your mind is telling you to give up and do all of that, your mind is changing, because your mind can change. Your mind in a certain point can change in a situation. But the love that, it's a mystery thing. It's something that it has to be divine. It has to be empowered by something. It comes in and it fuels you to do what your mind or your own strength cannot do. So I'm thinking the mindset thing works for Mrs. Turkson and Jojo. That's great. But I'm just saying that it goes a little further than that. That's what the guy the guy in the panel just said. It's based on your understanding. So I just want to get clarity on where Mrs. Turkson stands and how she stands. I think maybe the mindset thing works for her. That's great. It might work for other people. But I think there's more to it than just the mindset of making your mind that I'm going to be in this relationship permanently. And then when things happen, don't go your way, there's nothing that can motivate you or fuel you to go further or go the extra mile. Thank you very much.
I think what he's trying to say, let's combine mindset and love.
In the mindset area.
No.
Clarify that. Yes. So, Mr. Kofi, what I want you to understand is that when you have a mindset, you develop emotions for who you are with. So to make up your mind to be with somebody, when I first met my husband, I didn't. The truth is that I didn't first see him and then fell in love to say it was love at first sight. But when we met, we communicated. We spoke. He wanted to get married to somebody, he would spend the rest of his life with. And that was what I wanted to at that instance. And when we met, he said, whoever I was going to be with, I want to be with this person forever. And I wanted the same thing too. And that is one thing that most people do not have in their relationships, and that is why their relationships are breaking up, because they do not set up their mind to be with one person forever. And so they decide to look back and look at other people around, and then they start, committing adultery.
Like in this day, people say, look, I have options. Okay?
Exactly.
I'm going in with a plan B. Because people are trying to guard their feelings,
Yes.
and that's why I asked, how has modernization affected, some of these roles that we used to play? But we only have 20 minutes, actually less than 20 minutes. That's what happens all the time. Yeah. Belinda, if you may help answer this question from one of our Facebook viewers, she says, this is from Rosemary Opong. My question is, communication is important in relationships. Yes. How about if your she says, how about if your boring boyfriend is not communicating frequently? What would you do? Like, how would you get your boring boyfriend to communicate frequently?
To communicate.
Yeah.
Well, I think someone touched base that communication is a little bit more is more than just talking. There's a physical aspect of it. I could be in a room with my husband and we might not say anything, but just being there together and just watching that movie or whatever. Not necessarily just speaking, just being there together and sharing that moment together. So it's another form of communication.
No, she's saying, what would you do to get, if the person is boring, how can you get the
That's
person
what I'm saying. It's not just talking. If they're boring, you have to, you have to be the person. If you like to do activities, then you need to initiate those activities or whatnot. Okay. You can't sit there and say he's boring. Then what about you? What did you do to
make him excited?
To make him excited, or what activities you say? Hey, let's go do this, let's go to the movie, let's go to the park or whatever. That's one thing. Like me, my husband and I are. Culturally are totally different. He was raised in Ghana. I was born in Ghana, but I was raised here. So, we see things differently or whatnot. What might be exciting to me might not necessarily be exciting to him or whatnot. But it's a middle ground that we have for each other. We have a respect for each other that I'm going to do this because you like it, and I'm going to put a face in front and just enjoy for that moment because I want to be with you or enjoy that activity and so forth.
That's an example here.
Quickly, Dr. King, and then we'll come to Dr. Cook, and then we'll come to Maia, and then I want us to go to this next topic.
So it's just respecting each other's needs or each other's feelings or what makes that person happy. Just that, like he touched base on respecting their space and what they like or what they dislike. It's a form of communication. So
and helping them to communicate.
Helping them to communicate. You just can't sit there and say they're boring and you're not doing anything about it. Now, if you're doing something about it, then they're not doing anything about it or they don't want to, then that's something you need to touch base on. Maybe this is not the relationship for you.
Sometimes you don't have to give up. I mean, if the person is still boring.
But if you're in a boyfriend-girlfriend situation and
you have an option.
You have
to back out before it gets
you haven't really committed to anything.
I hear you.
If you're not going to be happy at that point, you have to have some type of...
Yeah, quickly, Dr. King. And then Maia, and then... so this quickly, and then I want us to touch base on the rules, the sex rules, okay, and because that's very critical.
You mean Dr. Cook, right?
Dr. Cook, yes.
No, I think he brought up something that was really important. He spoke about love. And love is an ingredient, but it's just a part of a relationship. We talked about respect. We talked about communication. We talked about being in love. And then we'll get to the other part.
And the mindset.
The mindset to a degree. But more importantly, once you've made a commitment onto that and the love is there, then you base in your relationship off of the commitment and your love. Because we can change our minds, but we don't have to change our positions. You see?
Okay.
We can change our minds about how I want to do this or how I want to do that, but I'm still committed to a marriage. I'm still committed to what I'm going to do with this person. My wife and I are in totally different ball camps, ball games, teams, everything like that. She's a politician. You know, it's Dorothy Brown. She's a politician. She's running for mayor, and every day she starts out at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock every morning, and comes back 8 o'clock at night. Well, people may ask the question, well, how do you handle that? Well, first and foremost, I'm really cool with being Benton. See, you have to have a self-love and a self-respect and security in who you are first.
There you go.
Then you can have security in your relationship. If he's boring to you, you or him is insecure about your relationship and about each other. So differences can happen and can flourish within relationships, because I still love my wife, and as the sister said, when she comes home, or sometimes I get home later, then the house is complete.
Right.
I never go to bed without her coming through that door. You know, I'm not going to shut anything down until that she comes through that door, because it's. And one other thing I wanted to say, and you said this earlier, sister, is that it's two things that women need from men. And it's just really two things. But that secures a relationship. One is the security. You have to know beyond a shadow of a doubt that that's your man.
Exactly.
And that man is going to be with you, and he's going to go through rough and tough times with you. The other thing that she needs is love. And see, love is not just a four-letter word, but it's an action word. So we have to show that love for our wives. Now, boyfriend and girlfriends are different things, because that's a total different commitment. And to me, that's a shady commitment.
Okay, all right.
It doesn't translate into marriage.
It doesn't translate into marriage. Maia, I know you want to come in. So whilst you were coming in, give me your take on what role should men and women be playing when it comes to sex to create a healthy relationship.
Okay. I had other things to talk about here too, so quickly I just wanted to
Quickly,
say,
we only have 10 minutes.
Right. Quickly, I wanted to say that when we're dating or doing that boyfriend and girlfriend, that does not equate to marriage, and that's what's going on with a lot of modern relationships. They believe that instilling a lot in dating this and having sex and doing all of this casually will hopefully turn into marriage without giving it any additional look. So that is a problem that we have. Going into sex, I want to talk about two things. Obviously, if you guys know what happened with like DJ Khaled recently, and how he talked about sex openly and almost in the sense disrespected his wife and say what I will do for my wife and what I will not do sexually, but what I still expect from her. Long story short, he said, look, I am the man, I am the king of the house, I will receive oral regardless. So, you know, like that. And again, that was something that he decided to do. He was like, you know, he was really cocky about it. But how I supply it back is I supply it in the form of security. You like this house, don't you? You like the nails that you're getting done every day, don't you? But I shall not give that favor back to you in sex as we are married. No one did not ask him about that. That is their current relationship. That is how they operate. I'm pretty sure it's based on the money that he's receiving, that she's accepting that. But that is their relationship. I wanted to bring that up because that was obviously a really, really trendy topic. But I would say that ensure that in the marriage that both parties are pleasing each other. And I would only say that because I know that a lot of married couples, I want to say over 60% of women are still having problems with orgasms and still having problems with communicating to their men how, or in order to please them, in order to make it work. You hear a lot of men say, okay, well, I was able to, release or so, but if you ask their wives have a completely different story. So I would say to pay attention to each other and understand and communicate that way. So again, you are communicating physically and understanding your wife and taking that time. Women have been shunned in the past to be sexually, embracive, or to not abrasive, but to understand themselves sexually, but to take that time and to communicate with your wife so you can have a positive sexual relationship with each other is extremely important.
Can I come in?
Richmond, before you come in, Richmond, what role should, because African, coming from, again, that mentality, that mindset, as the man, you go to, if you make the move on the woman, or each time you need it, you jump on it, she's supposed to be giving it to you. And then, like you said, when you come, or when you land at the airport, no, when you land at the airport, that's it. You don't care if she also landed safely or not. Is that an issue? And should we start redefining it? What role should we be playing to create that healthy relationship that we're all looking for?
Yeah. So I think you're talking about sex, right?
Of course, sex.
And I think, sex or whatever, the nature of the relationship between a husband, and I can only speak for a husband and a wife, should be based on, I think you were saying, Dr. Cook, you're saying earlier on how Christ loved the church, if you're a Christian. And it's a very selfless, way in which Christ loved the church. Now, that's something that even as a married man, I struggle with, okay? That is loving your wife the way that Christ loved the church. What does that mean? That means that whether it's sex or your role or the things you have to do or love, you have to base it off the way Christ loved the church. How? Selfless. It's not about you. It's about fulfilling a demand and also making sure that you're pleasing that person that you are with.
Okay.
So you get to a point where you are comfortable not getting where you want to be, but you're happy because she got where she needed to be.
Okay. So what is the exact role should you play? Should you, like, say she comes back from work, go and maybe give her a hug and kiss her on the forehead, give her a flower?
So there's a book by Dr. Gary Chapman. I don't know if any one of you have read it. It's called The 5 Love Languages. And the 5 Love Languages, to me, it's a critical book that my wife and we had to read. Okay. The reason is because when you're in a relationship or when you're married, you might think that you're showing love to your wife. Guess what? You are not showing love, because to her, that's not love.
Okay.
So now both of you have to sit down and say, well, what are your love languages? Right. For me, it's in the bedroom is my love language.
Okay. Sex, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or, it could be when you cook for me, that's my love language. Well, guess what? It means that whatever else you do, well, it's great. But you're not communicating love to me.
Fine.
Yeah,
that is on the base. That is on the love, in the terrain of love. I want us to. We only have 5 minutes, guys. We only have 5 minutes. But I'll let you come in. Please be specific. Hold on.
When you're talking sexually or you're talking what turns you on or whatnot, me being married for 9 years.
No, not what turns you on.
Oh, I mean,
what role should you play when it comes to sex as a woman or a man? What should we be doing to create a healthy relationship? Should a man initiate or should a woman be initiating?
Initiation is both. But you should know what turns your significant other on or whatnot. The love language is. I get excited if my husband has washed the dishes when I come home. That turns me on.
Oh,
or whatnot.
Okay. So that is sexy.
It's like, yes, that has turned me. Yeah, like that. I'll be excited. Like, oh yes, the dishes are done. Yes, they're in the corner. Whatnot. At this point, it's not the. No,
it's not the touching.
It's not the touching.
It's the act.
I came home, the kids are fed, bathed, in bed. Oh, really? Then, yes.
Then you get some.
That turns me on. I'm like, I'm excited about that because
Good.
my chores are less, or our chores are less because
I like that.
helps.
So
I
in
like
that
that.
case,
Zippy.
would you be the aggressor? Just out of curiosity.
Yes, because you
Okay, so that's my point. You see, so now that your husband has done all those things and you were turned on, so the role you're gonna be playing here, and he's played his role, right? So your role now as a woman is okay. Hi, baby. You jump on him gently. Take off his shirt.
I mean, you're
start
getting
kissing on him. Start kissing. No, look.
Well,
but I think wait, guys.
We're not children here.
No, one second. Hold on. Hold on.
Right. But one of the things that you need to remember,
guys, give me a second. Hold on. Belinda, hold on. The variety of people that are listening to us. Okay. Some people understand what turn on means. Some people understand, when you speak, that way, people understand it. In coded words, people understand it. We also have people who want to literally understand what you're saying. Okay, so yes, wait. If you're turned on, then what role do you play?
What role do I play?
Sexually. That is why I wanted to use the word literally.
Running
because
the
we are all
or turning on the shower or so forth. Like me personally, one of my goals this year in 2018 was to engage more or to initiate more or
what?
Initiate sex more
Thank
or
you.
whatnot. That's
by doing what exactly? The role.
As the role as
start kissing him on him first, right?
Yes, as to be the initiator. That's what you're supposed to.
Thank
that's
you.
What something that in communication that was his love language.
Okay.
So my love language was chores. His was initiate. So
okay,
that's
good. Let me give
his love language.
Okay, Zippy.
Okay, so I wanna.
We only have 2 minutes, so
I
please.
know.
30 seconds.
I know. I like to be
okay.
systematic with these things. When we talk about sex in marriage, it's very, very different from sex in a relationship.
Yeah.
Because before my husband and I got married, honestly, we did not have sex before we got married because our mindset was that we wanted to get married first and then have the sex. But when we were about to get married, to me, I thought that every day was going to be sex day. Because we didn't do it before we got married. So on our, wedding day, I was so much in a hurry to go and do it. And yes, it was like that for 1 week. But after 1 week, it was like you can't keep working your mind like every single day, And yes, you can't keep working him every day. And then it went from maybe every day to every 2 days and every 3 days. But in this case, we don't wait until any of us get aroused before we jump into sex.
Okay.
All the little things that you do every single day can make you know if your man wants it or not. Because with my husband and I, we kiss every day.
Okay.
We give ourselves specs every day. And there are certain little things that he does that I know that this is what he wants.
Thank you.
Like coming home from work, giving me a peck, and then he will like spank me on my
your
butt. And I'll be like, oh, okay.
Good.
And
that is what I'm talking about.
and in the kitchen, when I'm washing dishes, he will come there and do the same thing. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to get you.
And what do you do sometimes?
And so
sometimes what do you do specifically?
And what I do, I do the same thing to him.
Good. Dr. Cook. We don't have time. We don't have time.
One of the things that's important
quickly,
from a
please.
female's point of view is that a woman has to feel the orgasm first.
Okay.
She has to be like what you were talking about and stroked and kissed and things like that. So hers is more of an emotional response.
Okay.
And a man, his satisfaction really comes in the physical.
Okay.
So it's but you can both get off in both ways.
Okay.
Because a woman does not necessarily have to have a physical orgasm to be pleased.
Is that true, women?
That's what I.
Yes.
Maya,
Most
true?
women are mentally
Yes or no,
stimulated.
please.
Exactly.
Maya, yes or no?
That is yes.
Yes.
Okay, so the women say yes. All right. On that note, we would have to end.
I think we have to talk. We have to have a talk.
Part 2 coming up, y'all.
Yes, we'll come back. We'll come back on the 26th of May, 11 to 9 p.m. WGHC First Annual Street Festival is coming on live. We ask the community to come together. Let's all bring our friends and family. Let's come and support the case against gang violence in our communities. All right, 26th of May here in Chicago in the Uptown area between Wilson and Broadway, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Belinda Sintim, Thank you, Maia Bush, Zippy here, who was Zipporah Turkson, the wife to our own brother Jojo. Richmond Cabral, thank you so much. And then Dr. Cook, thank you. Thank you for your contribution. Gio has been helping with the 1 and 2s. He's always a wonderful producer. Thank you all the callers who have contributed. For folks who join us on Facebook that I couldn't mention your name, here for Akafo, Francisca Daku, and all these guys. Please forgive me. Time caught up with us. Next time, come early so we can have a great conversation. Next week, Dorothy Brown is going to be here talking about the expungement program. It's also Mother's Day. We're going to be giving shout outs to our mothers. So join us again 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. on the Progressive Mind Show. It's been your host, Alinko, with WGH 98.3 FM. God bless you. To whom much is given, much is required. Bye-bye.
You're listening to WGHC 98.3 FM.
Why yo, but we are nothing friend from the first time. After trusting, then why yo, get anything you like.